kids in there, and there were,
Well, now that I've finally spoken with someone who can confirm what I had thought I read, I'll probably make a point of taking my wife.
yeah, it was awesome. The boys didn't want to go when they saw the trailer, so we didn't waste money on tickets for them. But my husband, both my daughters and I went, and the girls were just, Mike said it was one of the coolest things he's ever seen. And the girls were just really like, wow, that's gorgeous, and wow, just watching the way they use their costumes in their dance. It just makes these beautiful formations. And then they've actually patented a technology where they have the screen behind them where the dancers are actually interacting with the screen to show, so like parts where like, the characters in the Buddhist story are supposed to go up into the heavens and leave the world. They jump into the screen and they disappear, and their character appears on the screen, does whatever it's supposed to do and comes back. And but the technology behind it, they actually hold the patent on. So, which was really cool. When they had to, when the kid with the slingshot hit the bees, and the bees attacked all of them, and they were running away from the bees at the school scene.
Did I ever tell you I used to design stage control systems?
No.
Yeah, I used to, I did the electronics and the control software for curtain motion, light motion, sound control, the whole 9 yards.
Maddie got into that.
Really cool, yeah.
She started out volunteering with a little troupe, and she turned it into 3 paying gigs running because she could figure out the electronics.
Yeah.
It was just a super cool thing.
Okay, it's 4:30. So whoever's on is on. Let's call our meeting to order. We're ready for a roll call. So I call the meeting to order at 4:30. May I have a roll call, please?
Crispo? Rosendahl?
Here.
Graham?
John, unmute. We can't hear you.
There we go, thumbs up.
All right.
Sylvia Wright?
Here.
Richard? Liz?
We're not hearing anything.
She's on mute,
She's
I can
muted.
see, and so is John.
Okay. No, I'm still not hearing them.
No.
So the other ones can hear her because they're nodding, yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, we're going to have to
But-
figure that part out because we've got to have them on the tape here.
Can you walk over there and look? All right. Sorry.
No worries.
Low-tech solutions for high-tech problems.
Okay. Kendra, can you say something?
Select your audio now.
All right. Can you stand over there and see which one it is? I can't.
She can't see the screen.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Yep, there we go.
Yeah, except we can't hear you now.
You can't hear us?
Go back up to micro, no, you're good. And speakers,
You just gotta unmute, I think.
you're good.
Okay. I have to unmute.
Now? All right.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us
Now we
now?
can hear you.
All right.
All right.
Thanks,
Now we got it all
Paul.
running.
I'm apologize. All right.
Okay. All right, so now we're on. You've got your roll call done, right?
Yes.
We're good? Okay. So welcome, everyone. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So our next item is public comment. And do we have anyone signed up? Probably not. We have to check.
Double check.
Yep.
No.
Okay, so we have no one signed up for public comment, so we're on to item 2, approval of agenda. May I have a motion, please?
I move we approve the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, a vote, please.
Rosendahl,
Aye.
Graham,
Aye.
Livia Wright,
Aye.
Richard,
Aye.
Chelsea is an alternate.
You got everybody? Yeah. Did you do Richards? Okay. All right, then that motion passes. We're on to item 3, consent agenda. May I have a motion, please?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, a vote, please.
Rosendahl,
Aye.
Graham,
Aye.
Harris. Aye. Livia Wright,
Aye.
Richard,
Aye.
Motion carries. We're on to item 4, action items, school applications, and I believe there's a couple different motions. So we'll start with the first motion under A, action item A.
I move that we authorize the BOCES to execute a contract with Renaissance Innovation Academy to operate a homeschool enrichment programs in accordance with the application submitted.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Anyone have any discussion or questions?
You want to do an overview?
I would like to in a moment, but you're asking questions.
Okay, we'll let Ken give some information, and then we'll see if people have questions after he does that as well. Go on ahead, Ken.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to take just a little license on item number 1, Williamsburg Learning Multi-District Online School Application, because it's conspicuously omitted in the request for motions. We provided the application last month. In reviewing and working through detail on that, we feel like they need to address 2 or 3 issues, so we are not asking the board to opine on that application this month. You will see it next month. So I just wanted to explain that. That's why it's being omitted. On the Renaissance Innovation Academy homeschool enrichment programs, there were 4 of them, and the question asked last month was which programs are currently already operating in other places and which are not. 2 of the 4 are already in operation in Pueblo, and they are the Innovation Academy, the arts program, and the Alpine Outdoor Education program. They have 58 students in them presently. Those 2 are proposed for BOCES authorization more broadly for our schools, as well as 2 additional ones.
Okay, now, any questions at this point? Okay, count of 6, and I don't see anybody turn their mic on, so then I will,
Oh, I was just saying, no questions, sorry.
that's good. I try to pause long enough that I can scan and give people a chance to react. That's the hard part with it being virtual. All right, then, hearing none, can we have a vote, please?
Rosendahl,
Aye.
Graham,
Aye.
Harris,
Aye.
Livia Wright,
Aye.
Richard,
Aye.
Motion carries. We now need the motion, the final motion on this item, please.
I make a motion to authorize the BOCES to execute a contract with MyTech High to operate the homeschool enrichment program in accordance with the application submitted, but conditioned on a written indication from the CDE that this program will qualify for funding as a homeschool enrichment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Ken, did you want to speak to anything first?
Yes, just to give some background and to explain the condition why I believe this is important. MyTech High is going through their 2019-2020 audit. The CDE, in a letter to them, expressed a view that they may categorize them in that year as independent study as opposed to homeschool enrichment. that would have a significant detrimental funding effect. We can't take that risk. If the CDE were not to recognize them as homeschool enrichment, the difference in PPR that might be clawed back in the future would be much more than we could withstand, given that in the interview last month when they spoke to us, month before last, when they spoke to us, they were anticipating 500 to 1,000 homeschool enrichment students. So for that reason, while I both respect and in fact strongly endorse their program as both creative and something that our community is really looking for and looking for more of, it still has to be recognized by the CDE as a homeschool enrichment program. And so for that reason, while I would love to take them on, we have to ensure that they have written guidance from the CDE that this program is fundable. And so we need, if we're going to approve them, we need to condition it on that. That's where I think I would leave it.
Okay, does anybody else have any further question or comment?
Yeah, I struggle with the idea of approving them, waiting on a condition, and also allowing them the timeline, or our team the timeline we need to prepare them for that next academic year. So I guess I'm not clear on what the timeline is where we would find that out for sure. And is it an appropriate amount of time, or do we hold off another year to ensure that rather than doing it for next year?
I think that's a valid question. If I may respond just with a couple of thoughts there. If this were a new program that weren't already up and running, I would say, yeah, they can't, if you wait too long, then you can't properly market or expose it. In this particular case, though, it's a program with a waiting list with people who already know about it and want to be involved broadly across the state. So I don't think that problem exists for them. But I would still hold that the condition is important either way.
And I honestly think I'm leaning more with where you are, Chelsea, in that I prefer kind of a cut and dry, okay, we don't have this figured out yet. So when you have it figured out, come back and reapply, rather than having it kind of stand in limbo and leaving that limbo piece both for our organization and for parents who are considering programs. And also, I'm a D49 rep, and D49 is also on the hook for any of the financial consequences because the funds pass through D49. So the CDE isn't going to look at BOCES, the CDE is going to look at D49, and D49 is going to look at the BOCES. So there's also substantive risk from my perspective for D49, and even when we've gone through chartering in my passport experiences, having them come back fresh when they have those pieces adequately worked out isn't an awful experience for anyone, but gives you a cut and dry, this is where we are now, when you're ready, come back. And so that's kind of where I'm leaning as well.
I didn't really see it as a risk to us necessarily with that condition in the motion, because there was enough information provided extra by My Tech High to answer our concerns, plus the information given on what is allowable. I think CDE is just going to have to, well, we hope, come around with their process there on what they are offering. I didn't see the risk on us. With the condition in the motion, I really see it as a benefit to us completely. I mean, it's an additional 500 to 1,000 students, and I know the funding would be what we are concerned about. But I think if CDE studies their own legislation, looks at their own definitions, they're going to reach the same conclusions that My Tech High has reached in their application.
I agree. I think supporting a strong program like this and having some of that could really help them, and then from there we can move on to moving this across the state.
What's the projected timeline on when CDE might be able,
So,
might complete the audit?
yeah, and I apologize. I did not answer the second half of your question, and I noticed after I lost the mic, so I apologize for that. The second piece there is the timing. And the timing is somewhat unfair in this particular system in this regard. This is an audit of 2019, so the timeline was 3 years. Now, we need an answer on that audit, but then you could ask the same question about the 2020 audit, and you could ask the same question about the 2021 audit. So I think to be entirely fair, it really does hinge on getting something in writing from the CDE about that program having qualified, whether it's 2019 or subsequent. In terms of the 2019 audit itself, the CDE doesn't make a commitment to when they will finish, but they are in the midst of resolving this issue right now. They have raised the flag and said they're evaluating this. They didn't give a timeline for an answer, though. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if there isn't a contest involved. So getting that final result in writing, it could be a month, it could be 6 months, to be quite frank with you.
Does anyone have any further question or comment?
Does accepting them,
Let me
while
add,
I know that we are an organization that likes to push back on CDE, not questioning that approach. Is it pushing too much? Is it, I just want to make sure the reputation of the BOCES is also attacked by this decision.
agreed. I would just add the one comment there in regard to the timing. With this motion, we absolutely will not sign a contract with them until there's something in writing from the CDE. So I want to be clear on that. That means if it's 6 months down the road, then they didn't have a contract for next year. That would be a guarantee from this motion. So I want to be clear on that. But on the question of reputation, you know, one has to be careful in the battles that one chooses. And in all honesty, this is not our battle. They've already operated this program. This is an audit of 2019. The answer will be given based on things that have already gone on in the state. And if the answer is adverse, we don't move forward with them. If the answer is good, then we weren't the ones in the fight. So
Yeah, but by association, by
Yeah,
even
there's still an
considering
association.
it, are we,
fair enough.
if there's an ad,
Right, is our voting positively weighing in before the decision has been made, and
Right.
therefore possibly muddying some other bridges that we still have to fight ourselves, is kind of your point. And we don't have
Yes.
someone from CDE to give us honest feedback on that. And that's another one of those cautionary things of, okay, so is it better to say cut and dry right now? You know, and that's ultimately, we each kind of have to individually make that decision based on the organizations we're representing and how we're looking at this information. Is it better to move forward with the conditional, or is it better to say, we're voting now right now, if you get this resolved, feel free to come back, right? Those are kind of our two options. The no doesn't keep them from reapplying in 6 months if the CDE comes back. It doesn't keep them from reapplying in a month if they get a decision in a month, but it keeps it separate until that decision has been made by the CDE. So, you know, those are the two decisions. Does anyone else have any more comments before we call the vote? I'm seeing none, so let's call the vote, please.
Rosendahl,
Aye.
Graham,
Aye.
Harris,
no?
Olivia Wright,
No.
Richard,
Aye.
Motion passes. We're on to discussion items, and the first will be legislative issues with Amy.
Hi, good afternoon. Amy Atwood, contract lobbyist. So we have 99 days to go out of the 120-day session. We've had 21 days and committee hearings finally started today in earnest. There have been 3 bills that have gone through the process in the last 21 days, but they've waited to really start committees to try to get through the COVID spike, and there certainly was one at the Capitol. So we have a full calendar today going forward. Education committees did meet today and will meet later in the week. The one bill that was heard today in committee that we're tracking is the concurrent enrollment bill that removes the allotted slots for the Ascent program, which is the fifth-year high school program. There were about 250 slots that were available, and the bill removes that because of the demand.
Nice.
So that, for this week, that's all that's on the calendar that we're watching. The big education bills still are to be introduced, particularly on accountability and testing and how that will work this year. If you remember last month, we talked about the the transition to getting back to full testing. That CASE is a legislative proposal CASE is bringing forward, so it would basically be a soft roll into full testing for next year, just maybe half testing this year. That is being negotiated out with the department now. And that's the biggie that is still yet to come, and it may not come for a few weeks yet. Joint Budget Committee revenues are out of this world. We have like $3.2 billion extra in the state to spend this year. So, and a good portion of that, the governor had earmarked for education to buy down the budget stabilization factor, but that's just his budget. That's not what the Joint Budget Committee has finally decided on. So there will be more to come next month once we see that bills are rolling and they just start moving. Not many education bills as a total have been introduced either. Are there any questions?
Yes, I have. What chances are Tim Geithner's education transparency bill that he's proposing? Are you aware of that one?
Mm-hmm. I think it'll be tough for him to pass. It is. It's not bipartisan, and it's been tagged as a statement bill because it's part of the Republican agenda, their stated agenda. So it'll have a hard time.
D49. Okay, thank you. We're actually looking to adopt it.
Okay.
Thanks.
If I may ask as well, when are you expecting to see school finance?
That's a really good question. So School Finance Act does not come out until after the budget. And the budget typically is the last week of March and the first week of April. So it runs through the first house last week, then it flips over. So it's a 2-week process. And the budget bill, the long bill, sets the amount of money set aside for education, and then the School Finance Act comes in and says how that is going to be spent.
Thank you.
So it comes in after.
Yeah. It's what always makes the budgeting cycle horrible for the people who have to do it, because they're telling you in April and your budget is due by June 30th.
Yeah. And sometimes it doesn't pass until the beginning of May.
Right.
It probably won't.
Right. So you're always contingent on things they keep changing on you. Drove me crazy. Okay, does anybody else have any other questions for Amy right now? Remember, we do have the access to that bill tracker. So in between meetings, if things start heating up, she'll be adding stuff in there that you can follow as well, because it'll probably be this next month where they really start adding a lot to those committees. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
We're now on to our Q2 homeschool scorecards with Jennifer Strawbridge.
Hello, everyone. We're going to just present the homeschool scorecards tonight. Several of the other schools are still wrapping up their middle of the year assessments, and we wanted to make sure that data was included on Q2 scorecards, so you'll be seeing those next month. I'll share my screen here. Can everyone see okay, or?
Is it page 81?
I don't know the answer to that
Yes,
question.
it starts on page 80.
80. Thank you.
Thank you. Can everyone see this screen that needs to? Okay, great. So I'm going to start with Prenda. It's one of our 3 homeschool enrichment programs. And as you know, our homeschool programs are not required to administer assessments to their students. Prenda does include growth data, but we will be showing you that in quarter 3. So you'll see that we have individual passing rate and overall passing rate. They had 100% of their students succeeding in both of those. And then you'll also see that they completed the self-assessment of our Education Re-envision BOCES accountability matrix that we use to guide our site visits throughout the rest of the school year. They were also 100% compliant in academic, financial, organizational, and leadership. Does anyone have any questions about Prenda's scorecard? No. Okay, great. I'm going to move on to Haven. So similarly, we're looking at individual passing rate and overall passing rate. They had 100% in both of those areas. 100% of their students and or courses were being passed during quarter 2. They completed the self-assessment of the accountability matrix in its entirety in all 4 areas. And we're meeting academic, financial, organizational, and leadership compliance completely. Does anyone have any questions about Haven Homeschool? Okay. Last but not least, Williamsburg Learning. As you can see, we have individual and overall passing rate again. Individual passing rate, looking at the percent of students completing all courses with a passing grade in quarter 2, was met at 100%. They have 86% of their courses being completed with a passing grade. It is important to know that Williamsburg looks at a passing grade as a C- or higher. So they're going to be reevaluating whether or not they would be looking at a D or higher next year. But currently, that is how they look at passing rate, and so they have slightly more rigorous criteria for passing than the other 2 schools. You'll see that, Marie, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. And you'll see that they completed the Education Re-envision BOCES accountability matrix in its entirety in all 4 areas. And we're 100% compliant in all 4 areas. Does anyone have any questions?
I'm not
Okay, great.
seeing any. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We're now on to our brick and mortar school presentations. Suzanne, I think you're starting us off.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Last month we had our online school presentations. This month we are having our brick and mortar school presentations. So again, this is just in lieu of our monthly school board reports. We are now requiring that all schools present to our board of directors mid-year. We do have school leaders from all 4 of our brick and mortars in attendance tonight, and we will start with Kevin. Kevin Buchanan is the principal for Pueblo Classical Academy. And Kevin, if you wouldn't mind giving your board presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me tonight. Pleasure to see you. Let me pull this presentation up here. All right, are you able to see the presentation? As Suzanne mentioned, we're Pueblo Classical Academy from PSS, we're chartered Pueblo. Just to get kind of right into it, some of our student engagement opportunities and kind of how things are going at the schools, it really builds off our philosophy and builds off our educational philosophy and kind of our culture that we're trying to drive home with our students and families. So We've got a lot of community service projects going on, parents and community volunteers, with the SAC team and the Site Accountability Committee, and working with our students and our teachers to help kind of inform our culture. Attendance and classroom performance has been high. Remote learning participation, we were remote learning for 1 week. We had a really good outcome with that. Parent feedback has been stellar. We've got a lot of new enrollments still coming in. We're still enrolling new students all the time. We enrolled a new student today. Staff and student retention, we've only had 1 student drop, and staff has been high. So those are some of the student engagement things, the engagement part of the school that we feel is going well. Onto our student growth data. This is our 5th grade, so we're grades 5 through 9 this year. So I have a little bit of the elementary, middle school, and high school data to share with you. This is our NWA growth data for our 5th grade. Just to note, at the beginning of the year, we only had 7 5th graders. We have 13 now. And so, that data was a little bit tough to kind of make sense of. But overall, the percent of students meeting their mid-year growth goal was high. So in math, it was 50%, reading 71%. Language usage was our lowest score with 40%, and science at 55%. The percentage of their goal met was, right on par with, you can see the numbers down below the graph, was 113% for mathematics, which was big for us. Math is a big focus area for us this year. Reading at 168% of the goal met, and then language usage and science, 53 again on that. Language usage and 148.7% on science. Any questions on that 5th grade data? All right, this slide then shows middle school on the left and high school data on the right. Just to note, we only had 4 9th graders at the beginning of the year. We're up to 6 now. So that data, again, is based off of a very small population. Our middle school is our strongest in numbers, and the percent of students that met their math goal was 62%, which we feel is really good. The nation norm, anything above 50% is quality. Reading is 64%. And then in high school, our mathematics, 100% of their students met their goal, and 64% in reading. So what those percentage of goals look like, in math, again, 113%. In reading, 192%. That's in the middle school. Our high school hit a really big number. I talked to my directors about that. We're proud of it, for sure. But again, it's based off 4 students. So. High school math, 450% of their goal was met, and while reading was 113%. Give me 1 second. What we do to support our students that are struggling, we have what's called the Trojan Hour that's built into our schedule. So rather than students coming from tutoring before and after school and causing that labor on the families, we built kind of an advisory. We call it Trojan Hours with PCA Trojans. And we use our NWA, that nationally norm reference test to kind of put students in different buckets. Red being the lowest, then orange, then yellow, and then our blues and greens are students that are on grade level or above. And so we offer intervention during Trojan Hour for our red, orange, and yellow students. We use IXL. It's an automated individualized learning platform on the computer. We saw really good growth with that. We've been using that all year, and we feel that's why our math scores grew the way they did. For the enrichment part of things, so students that aren't necessarily needing academic skill revisions, we offer a variety of project-based learning. So we have project-based learning for the art of math, which our art instructor taught. We did a play with the Macbeth play, and then speech and debate. So these students get some choice. They get to sign up for whichever enrichment opportunity they're interested in, and we carry those out during Trojan Hour as well. Another thing we've instituted recently, support reading, is our Monday through Thursday during our homeroom. We have a 15-minute school-wide, it's about a 10-minute school-wide silent read following announcements. So the whole school, teachers and staff included, engage in 10 minutes of silent reading each day to support literacy. All right, on to the fun part. We've got our highlights, some of the things that we're proud of that we've accomplished in our first 2 months of new school. We formed a stellar student council. They host announcements for us every morning. During the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays, we provided a turkey feast and Christmas angels, providing full Thanksgiving feasts and Christmas presents to 10 families. We host spirit weeks for Halloween during the holidays. We had a Trojan Spirit Week where we all wore togas. It was great. We do the school-wide silent read, and then we honor a Trojan of the month. Students that really represent our 5 pillars of success. Parents and community, we had a craft fair that was very successful. It's in one of the pictures down there. I tried to accompany this with some pictures. Our Empty Bowl community fundraiser was huge. Our network is a network-wide fundraiser. Our school participates in. We raised over $10,000 for our local food banks. Our school participates in the Million Word Marathon, where we encourage all of our students to read 1 million words between now and the end of the year. Then we have 4 students going to the Scripps Spelling Bee at the local District 60. That was due for tomorrow, but because of the snow, it's postponed until the 8th, so we're waiting and anxious to see what happens there. Some of our post-secondary partnerships, we do a CSU Colorado State University Pueblo Career Expo that our students will be attending, as well as Junior Achievement, where we're bringing in industry people, as well as parents it can be for a variety of things, to talk to the students and or to be a professional audience for our students to present to get them out of the classroom presenting, but presenting to experts. We offer after-school orchestra, and we're currently signing up for Tri-M Music Honor Society. That is the end of my presentation.
Pretty great first year so far, I have to say.
I agree.
Anybody else have questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Of course.
Suzanne, you want to introduce the next principal?
Yes, next we have Karen McWhorter. She is the principal for Attend College Prep. Karen, can you give us your presentation?
Yes, let me just work on sharing my screen. Share. All right. And, okay. So I assume you guys already have the slides ahead of time, so I definitely don't want to read them to you. The big thing in bold on this slide that we are really excited about is we opened enrollment at the beginning of January, and whereas we had 34 full-time students for this year, along with 5 homeschool enrichment, we already have 59 full-time enrolled for next year. We are going to be capping enrollment at 70, so we're very close to meeting our enrollment goal. That's all been done through word of mouth, and it's really exciting to us. One of the other things I wanted to highlight was that Lockheed Martin has sponsored us with a donation of $10,000, and we are working with them to establish a high school internship program for our students. Lockheed Martin does work with high schools in the Denver area, but they don't have a partner here in Colorado Springs, so we would be leading that, and our students are really excited. They would like us to work a bit faster on that. And then the independent study that we really sets us apart from everybody else. Every single student designed their own elective this year or last semester, and we weren't really sure what to expect, but it's one of my favorite things about our curriculum. Student engagement, our model we're calling active learning. All of our faculty got together and we agreed that for at least 30 minutes out of every class period, students would be up, moving around, working together, working at the boards. I wish that I had talked to Kevin before our presentation because pictures are such a fabulous idea. I will be sure to include those next time. We also have a seminar period every day. It's 40 minutes long, and this is where we do all of our extra help as well as some unique opportunities. For instance, today we worked with our seniors on interview preparation because they are all prepping for their scholarship interviews and no one has ever taught them how to answer an interview question. So we worked with the seniors on interview questions, and we worked with the juniors on beginning a little bit of SAT prep for that state SAT score in April. This is where anytime a student's grade drops at all below 70%, it's where our automatic help kicks in, and we have this seminar period set aside for that. Again, in the bold, we're very proud of the fact that all of our students passed all of their courses during the first semester. As a new principal, this is something I was really concerned about. We hired all college professors licensed through the CTE framework with CDE, and they had incredibly high standards. So this is not great inflation. Our students worked really, really hard. And then every single one of them presented to the entire school a 5-minute presentation. It's a lot of public speaking that some of them had never done before. Student growth. I admit that NWEA is very new to me. So if this slide is a bit busy, I will fix that for next time. I really liked Kevin's graphs. As a mathematician, you'd think I'd be better at this. We did have all of them take the NWEA in the fall and the winter, so this is our growth data. The thing that is interesting to me is that we had so many already at grade level and so many scoring. I apologize, I'm home, my dog is barking at me. So many were already above the 90th percentile that the feedback we were getting from the students is, I haven't seen some of these math topics since the 6th grade, and so we are going to be trying to figure out how to better address that. The good news for us is that we did meet our growth goals in reading and math. We set it at 50% of our students either meeting or exceeding their growth goals. I'm really happy with the growth in math. Again, obviously that's my passion personally, but the students have worked really, really hard in math. We have identified that a weakness for all of our high school students in math is probability and statistics. So you go back and you look at the state standards and you realize that, hey, they haven't seen that in 2 or 3 years. And while I am against teaching to the test, I am very much in favor of teaching our students some probability and statistics that I believe will, in fact, enhance their growth. The last bullet is the one that interests me in particular when you have a school of all 11th and 12th graders. When 11 of your 16 seniors fail to meet their growth goals in reading and 7 of your 16 fail to meet their growth goals in math, what I believe happened is that they simply didn't try. This I will take as an action item for myself, that I need to better explain to the students why this matters. All of our students have completed their college applications. Over half of them are enrolled. They have their dorm rooms, they have their scholarships, and it's really hard to convince them that this NWEA test really matters. That being said, they are also very excited about our school, and I do believe if I said to them that this was important for the future of the school, they would sit down and try their best. So that's what we're going to try for the May test. This is just some of the test scores. Our juniors, all 18 of them, I know it's not much, but that was our whole junior class. On October 26th, they took the PSAT and MSQT. Our scores beat the national average, state average, and district average for all of the districts kind of in our local area. The SAT scores there are from the test given last year when they were not my students. I find it interesting just to see the caliber of students that we did have enrolled. So we were kind of starting at a nice place, admittedly. The average GPA information that I've included here is all just from last semester. Although we had students that came to us having failed multiple classes during COVID, I really wanted to focus on what they did while they were at Ascend, taking all of them college level courses, at least one, and taking all of them took math, science, English, and history as well as an elective, even if they didn't need, quote unquote, need those to graduate. So I'm really excited that 77% were above an unweighted GPA of 3.0. Again, I really don't believe that that's great inflation at all. We have some fantastic students, and we have also an incredible faculty that just will do anything to help them understand and learn. School highlights. I am most proud of the fact that all but one of our students earned at least 3 college credits through the CU Succeed program. The one student, we went ahead and asked UCCS if they would withdraw him from the college portion of that course. Obviously, he still got the high school credit for that history course, but he just had some challenges this semester, and we did not want a D to go on his college transcript. They were very helpful with that. 10% of our students earn 14 or more college credits. The reason this is so impressive to me is that most college freshmen won't take more than 15. In fact, many of them will require a waiver to go over 15 credits. So they're learning to manage their time. They're learning that if the teacher starts the block and says, here's all of the homework for the block, it's due in 6 weeks, not to wait till the last minute. These are things that I know will help them when they move on to college. All of our seniors have successfully met the Colorado State graduation guidelines. All of our current students are enrolled for next year, and we completed 4 school-wide community service projects that I really think meant something to our students and meant something to us as well. This is the last thing. I just wanted to throw this up here. Since I think I have enough time, our independent study program, where we empowered every student to design their own elective. They had to provide me a course description, 3 objectives. They had to complete 4 projects throughout the school year and then present what they learned to the entire school. And this is just a sampling of what they came up with. It was a really neat moment to watch them do this. And the very last student that presented, he had learned the ukulele this semester. And he did a Google form to the school to ask what song should he learn for his presentation. And the school voted that he should learn Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And so we allowed him to present last. And one of my favorite memories so far is the entire school singing along to him playing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Questions or comments? It's great to see this program starting as well. Pretty unique to have a school that's just juniors and seniors and also risky for your enrollment. So nice to see it recruiting more people as it moves forward. Thank you. Okay, and Suzanne, do you want to introduce the next one?
Next, we have Cindy Conyu. She is our principal for Orton Academy.
Hi, thank you for letting me present today. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
All right. So Orton Academy, as you already know, I'm sure, is a school especially for students with dyslexia. And so our students come to us typically many grade levels below their same-aged peers. So our enrollment numbers this year, we're currently at 87. Unlike most schools, we do not accept any enrollments after the end of September. And that is because of our therapy program. Every student in our school receives dyslexia therapy. And once we get about a month into it, we're too far in the therapy program to catch any students up. So our enrollment, most schools fluctuate. Ours will never go up after September because we won't accept students because it would do a disservice to them. Try to rush them through the therapy and catch them up. Our projected enrollment for next year, we're looking at about 128 students, grades 2 through 8. And again, this is pretty evenly dispersed. You can see through the grades, just like this year, the lower grade and the top grade tend to be a little bit smaller, is what we have seen. So those are our projections. Our student engagement, our passing rate this year was pretty good. We had 95 out of 96 students pass all of their coursework. Of course, we want it to be 100%. This is a student we are working with. This student has been absent a significant number of days. And so those high absences, of course, affect their ability to, succeed academically. So that is something that we are working on. Because of the age of our students, they don't take any of the PSAT or SAT. The only test that they have taken so far this year is the COGAT. And we have had all students in 2nd and 6th grade take the COGAT testing. We do not have any EL students, and so there were no WIDA tests or anything like that for our students. So some of the strategies that we've been implementing to increase our student engagement, we have it divided into 4 areas, and the staff has been a part of developing what we think our students need, what will make them, more involved, have more ownership in the school. So academically, we have a no opt-out rule, which means if you don't know the answer, that's fine, but I don't know is not an acceptable answer. You cannot know the answer yet, but there's either you keep working on it, or you can ask a friend, or you can listen to a discussion and discuss it with somebody, but always coming up with the answer, making sure each student is accountable for knowing the information and participating in class. We're working very hard on bell to bell, that students have, they're met at the door by the teacher, they're given an assignment as they walk in to get started while teachers are taking attendance, and they have an exit ticket when they leave. And so we're working very hard at keeping that rigor and using every minute of our day. And aligned with that is the time on task. We want to make sure that what we're doing with our students, first of all, is important work, that it's not busy work, but that students are actually engaged in their school work from the time they walk into the classroom to the time they walk out. Minimizing, those trips to the bathroom, the excuses to go out to the hallway, keeping our students engaged in the classroom from bell to bell. Our behavioral engagement, we're really working on improving attendance. It's been rough this year with the COVID. We've had, students that are out with that, and that's a little bit out of our control. Being a school where parents are driving their students to school, also the tardies sometimes are a little bit difficult to deal with because parents have other children they're trying to get to different schools across town, and the early pickups. And so we're working with families to try to find ways to make sure that our students are in school, again, from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, because our student population especially, being several years behind their same age peers in their academics, they need every minute they can get within the school. For the cognitive engagement, rigor and relevance. Again, because our students are so low, it is critical that we are making sure that the rigor is there. We need to be closing these gaps as quickly as we can for the students because they have huge gaps by the time they come to us. And it needs to be relevant. Again, no busy work. It needs to be grade level and then differentiated so that they can achieve the grade level. And our students do have individual goals, especially goals around reading, which they work with the therapist, and so they're tracking their own goals. That gives them a lot of ownership when they see that improvement in their reading. That boosts that self-esteem because our students are extremely low in self-esteem because traditional schools have failed them for so long that they kind of have given up on themselves in many cases. So those goals give them that chance to celebrate that, it may be slow going, but they're getting there. They're making improvements. They're taking steps forward. And the effective engagement, we have a school mascot this year. We are the Orton Owls. The students voted on that at the beginning of the year. They voted that some of the choices were Orton orangutans, Orton opossums. So I think we got pretty lucky with the owls. It could have gone a very different direction. We have a fabulous PTO, parent-teacher organization, who has sponsored a skate city night for us. They're planning another event for the spring. And we're really working to bring our student voice in. We let them choose our mascot. We're about to have them help us choose what our owl looks like, what our actual mascot image will be. And so when I show you the slide with the pictures, you'll see that we have a mural that one of our parents has painted for us. And she is actually going to come up with about three different examples for what our mascot can look like, and then the students will vote on that. And so they will choose what our Orton owl looks like. Our growth, from boy to Moy, of course, the math growth, our students tend to be a little bit better in math than in reading. And you can see the math growth, not quite as much growth as we would like. So that is something that we are looking at. How can we push that growth more? And then the reading, which is in the brown, is about where you would expect it for our students. And happily, you can see as the students get older, it's getting a little better. And that I think every age group has shown some growth in their reading, which is encouraging. And then we have writing. And writing, I am not convinced this is an accurate measure, because at the beginning of the year, I had an elementary teacher grading students with a rubric. And then, unfortunately, she had to leave us because she was in a car accident and had some serious injuries. And so the middle of the year was graded by a middle school teacher. So I'm not sure if the inter-rater reliability is quite there, because they were both coming at it from different perspectives. So I'm anxious to see the end of the year data to see if there's some growth. So it is what it is. Those are the numbers we have. Those are the rubric scores that were assigned by the teachers. But again, I think maybe one being an elementary teacher was, probably a little more generous than the older teacher working on the younger students. So that one I'm not real confident in. And how are we going to raise the scores? Because our scores, no matter how much growth we get, we need more growth, and we need to move our students forward. Every student in our school receives dyslexia therapy. And this is from a certified academic language therapist or therapist in training, probably more commonly known as a dyslexia therapist. To become a therapist, it takes 2 years of graduate coursework, 700 hours of observed practicum, and you have to pass 2 nationally certifying tests. So once they become a therapist, they are definitely dyslexia experts and some of the top in the nation. Each student gets this intensive, multi-sensory, small group experience with these very knowledgeable therapists, and they get it every day for a minimum of 55 minutes. It's a little bit longer most days. Oops, sorry. In addition to that, in our classrooms, because every student we have is a student with dyslexia, we have the accommodations you would find on a 504 or IEP across the board in our classrooms. So if they're not working on their reading, their decoding, content is read to them. When they take a science test, it's read to them, because we want to know, do they understand the science material, not can they decode the words off the page, because we already know that is a roadblock for them. So they get extra time. We have a lot of students with dysgraphia, which is highly comorbid with dyslexia, and so we allow students to verbally respond, or respond with a diagram or a picture, because writing for them is difficult. They have brilliant ideas, but getting them from their brain to the paper is something that neurologically is blocked for them. And so we find ways around that, because we want to know their knowledge. And then again, we have a very high incidence of ADHD, because again, that is comorbid with dyslexia. And so we have students that stand, that can wiggle. If they need to move, we allow that. Anything to help them learn. We're working on getting all of our teachers trained in multisensory language instruction and multisensory math instruction. And I'm excited that we are onboarding 2 new staff members in the next couple of weeks that will be incredible assets to our team. One is a math teacher who is just a pro at differentiation and really moving students forward, has great numbers in her past as far as growth with students, and a special educator who has been a part of a startup school before, and so understands the growing pains of a school as they are, working through those first few years. So very excited that they'll be joining us soon. And whoops, last I have some pictures. And I'll start with the mural in the middle. That was one of our parents that painted that mural for us. You can see the little owl in the tree. And in spring, we'll have each student make little green handprint leaves to put on the tree. And then in fall, when kids come in, we'll have them make the fall color so that they have, a little bit ownership. It's kind of an interactive art wall in that sense. The picture with the leaves, it was just a fun picture. The wind was blowing. We have these beautiful trees. We have a huge grassy area, beautiful trees here. And the wind was blowing. The kids figured out if they threw leaves into the air, they would all stick to the fence and cover the fence. And they just thought that was the coolest thing. They made me come out there and see this fence full of leaves. The pictures with the food are our staff, and you can see their smiles on their face. These are not all of our staff members, but a number of them, and some treats that some of our parents have sent in on different days, just to kind of treat the staff a little bit. And just a picture of it, one of our children working, and then the picture of the young man out on our field, dressed in a suit. That was during our Spirit Week, and he is actually, it was twin day, and he was twinning with the teacher in the picture up above him. And it was so funny, the whole day he had assumed the persona of that teacher. And he was just too cute not to take a picture and put him up there, because he was doing recess duty. He didn't play that day. He did recess duty, and he was watching all the other kids and making sure they behaved. So just a few of our little celebrations. Any questions?
Can you just, on that graph, can you explain to me what the axis is? I'm not sure what the numbers mean.
Percentage of benchmark.
Okay.
So like
percentage on benchmark or at benchmark?
Everybody is below benchmark. If they were at benchmark, they would be at 100.
Okay.
So 100 would be at benchmark, and of course, all of our students are operating below, but you can see this, they start, like this first one, at probably 92% of the benchmark, and at middle of the year, they were 95% of the benchmark.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I should have explained that.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions or comments? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
And our last presentation is from Luke Myers. He is our new dean for Merit Academy.
All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to present tonight. Let me make sure I can get this actually in present mode. There we go. All right, so my name is Luke Myers. I'm brand new dean this semester. I came in at the beginning of the semester. I'm up at Merit Academy. We are in Woodland Park. We have just under 200 students. We have 185 students, and we have approximately about 25 to 30 homeschool students that come in on Fridays for enrichments. This is our first year. We were kind of created as a community response to the school district that was up here in Woodland Park. They wanted more school choice and different options up here in this small town. So a bunch of local families and parents got together, formed a board, and kind of created Merit Academy. So that's kind of where we're at right now. It's pretty exciting. We're had some bumps in the roads so far, but as you can see here in this picture, this is student engagement. We moved buildings. First, we started out the school year in 2 separate churches, and now we're all housed in one building underneath a paint store. So it is not the optimal setting, but our staff is excellent, and our students and families are tremendous as well. One thing, so I got a couple pictures here. One thing for student engagement that we use for our SPED students and students that are struggling in general is math and literacy movement. It's really great. It recruits the bilateral brain and cognition so that students can actually really internalize that learning and make sense of that learning. And we still see some real great gains with that with our special ed students for sure. Also, we were able to put together a holiday musical. Being in two different buildings and having the music teacher try to go to two different buildings, we were able to put on a musical, and as you can see all the kids there dressed up with one of our staff members. They did a really great job with that and really enjoyed it. Last picture right there, obviously language arts. Our students are great, they're really resilient. Like I said, we've been moving buildings, but they love it. They love being here. We're establishing a great culture where the kids feel comfortable and confident and want to come here and learn and try. We always tell them, you want to fail forward. Try to fail forward and learn something every single day. The kids are definitely seeing that from our staff because we have challenges that we have to overcome. So we're modeling that for our students, and I think the students can see that and really have that trickle down to our students from our staff. So that's great to see. So our student data, like I said, beginning of the year was kind of rough for us. There were some bumps in the road. So our data was not reliable because we ordered Dibbles Next, and we ordered Dibbles 8 and they were tested on Dibbles Next. So you really can't do too much with that data there. It's not going to give you reliability. So what we did with that was to overcome that with our middle of the year testing that we're going to conduct here in the next couple weeks. We're going to use that as our baseline data and go from there and use our end of the year data as our growth data. So kind of to combat that, we've been doing a lot of progress monitoring. Every single week we're progress monitoring the yellows, students that are categorized as yellow, and students that were categorized as red. We felt that that's important just because the data wasn't great and sufficient. So we wanted to capture those students without a lot of lag time in between so that we're catching them early and making course corrections that are minor and not major down the road. So we're kind of overcoming that, but we're all set up for our next MAPS testing session and our CMAS testing session. We're all set up for that. We have a good plan and game plan for that. So we shouldn't run into those problems here in the next semester. All right. Progress monitoring. So like I said, due to the skew of our beginning of the year data, we're using progress monitoring weekly, and those students are being pulled out for small group reading lessons and sessions with our reading specialists and our reading interventionist. Like I said, so students that are identified as red, they are progress monitored weekly, and they have extended time in those small groups and one-on-one with the reading interventionist as well. Today, we finally were able to get our Lexia reading program. We actually got that sent to us and got our login, so we're inputting students into that. And that's what we're going to use as our Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions for these students that are categorized in reds and yellows. So we feel we're pretty confident in that Lexia program. Our SPED specialist has used that in the past. So we adopted that this year, and we're going to roll that out here in the next week. So we're excited about that and to really get into that data and have some good, solid data for our students for this second semester going forward so that we can set up a really great plan for them next year and finish this school year strong as well. So we're excited about all those things that we're putting into place to kind of make up for the rough start we had at the beginning of the year. Let's see, so some celebrations. Like I said, we finally moved into a building. We were supposed to be in this building, I believe, in October, but because of COVID and everything else that's been going on in the world, that kind of delayed everything. So it was really exciting. The students were excited, the families were excited, the staff was excited finally to be in one building and not have one school in two different buildings. So we're excited for that. It's starting to build that community and that culture that we want. It's a lot easier to do that as one solid group. We had our 8th grade students, they participated in a Future City competition. This was our first time, obviously, that our students were able to participate in something like that. So we had 2 teams win awards. One won the John Elway Award, and one team won the Transportation Award as well. So that was great for our students being the first time participants, the first time that they participated in a state competition like this, and they were to go away with some of those prizes or awards for that competition. So that was really great. On Fridays, what we do, they try to make Fridays an enhancement day where there's special enhancements that come in and more community members come in and teach specific classes to our students. So one of those classes is a service learning project. And our kids came up with a great idea last week to write letters to first responders, policemen, and hospital members, hospital workers. So they came up with that idea and they wrote letters to all those members. And this next Friday, we're actually going to have those different agencies come to our building, and we're going to present those to those agencies. So that was a great thing that the kids came up with. I think it was Karen, I believe, that allowed the students to come up with their own electives. So we're kind of modeling that, and I really like that, what you did with that, Karen. If you're still on here, I think that was a great idea, and I'm going to steal that from you going forward. And our kids have a lot of great ideas for these service learning projects. They want to go and spend time at the nursing home. They want to go walk dogs, do all those different things. So it's really exciting to see, hey kids, this is what we want to do. We want to help the community. And then they come up with these really great ideas and like really bought into that project and those ideas. So that was really exciting to see and energizing to see kids really want to be invested in their community. So that was really great. Let's see. Oh, last Friday, we hosted an Olympics to honor the Olympics that are going to start here this week, I think in the next couple of days. All of our kids are divided into houses, and they stay in that house all the way from kindergarten to 8th grade. It kind of helps build that community within the school, prevent bullying, and we also have our older students are all paired up with the younger students, so they have a little buddy as well. So that kind of helps build leadership skills, and again, prevents that bullying and those types of behaviors that we don't want here. So we did Olympic events, and all the students competed in their different houses against each other. That was really great. We had parents come and watch and cheer everyone on. We had an opening ceremony and a closing ceremony. So that was a really great way to end the week. Let's see, what else? Like I said, our teachers are great. I'm really excited for just the quality of teachers that we have and how much that they've been through this year with all the moves, changing leadership halfway through the year. That's obviously not easy to handle. So I'm just really impressed with the attitude that our staff has modeled and continues to have every single day that they come in. I don't know how many parent meetings I've had with teachers and families already, just because our teachers want to help the students and they want to help them early. So they're not scared to set up a family meeting and have families come in and talk about, hey, this is what we're seeing in class, we're struggling helping your student, what are some ways that we can come together and brainstorm and help this student be successful. I always tell my teachers that we don't work with students on an island, and recruiting as many people outside the school, families, community members to help us is a great resource that we can use to tap into. And it's great to see our teachers doing that. So I think overall, we're in a good spot right now, and we're getting in a better spot as we continue the school year. I think next year we have a wait list of over 100 students right now. So we did lose a few students, obviously, over the semester because of the different moves and moving buildings. So there was some instability there, and some people withdrew because of that. I think we had about 6 students leave because of that. But again, like I said, we have a wait list of over 100 students wanting to come in next year. So that's where we're at. We're not enrolling anyone else right now. I believe it was Orton, just like them. After a certain time, we cut off enrollments. So our enrollment won't change after, I believe, November. So we're opening up enrollment for next year here in the next month or so. And I believe that is all I have for my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Merritt? Really great start to your first year. Thank you.
I have an overall comment. This is something I'm kind of proud of. It was a point Chelsea made when we first envisioned what the BOCES could be.
and that was that our schools would listen and learn and take best practices from each other. And I heard that through each presentation. And so, yeah, thank you. Thank you for helping each other grow to be better schools. And I'm really proud of everything I heard tonight, so thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We're going to move on to the state accountability and assessment update with Suzanne and Kendra.
Hi everyone, can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up. First of all, I want to apologize to our board of directors. Our cover sheet has a typo on it, and I just want to apologize and tell you I'm sorry we didn't catch that and assure you that that won't happen again. As far as the communication that we've received from the Colorado Department of Education, as it sounds like the State Board of Education has been discussing a transitional year in order to transition us back to state and district accountability. As you know, it's been paused due to COVID. We don't know all of the details yet that this plan may entail. But Suzanne, would you please take our board of directors through the information we at least know right now?
Sure. So what we know as of now is that they will begin calculating and reporting performance frameworks back for schools and districts. We will be assigned school plan type ratings of turnaround, priority improvement performance, as well as the distinction ratings. Direct school improvement resources, including the school transformation grant, will be based on the 2022 results. They will not continue to advance any school or district on the accountability clock, and that will allow schools and districts to request reconsideration of their rating to move off of the clock. They will also enable the board to use the 2022 frameworks to evaluate possibly new or different action for any school or district within current state board orders. Another new participation rate would be that they are requiring a 90% participation rate, meaning that parent excusals will not be considered to meet this threshold. So that is something new that we are watching. And finally, they will maintain the 2019 cut scores for the performance frameworks, meaning that the cut scores are not changed from where they were in 2019. Does anybody have any questions on any of this?
I'd like to make an additional point on that last bullet. There's an interesting cognitive dissonance with the state board stating that a 90% total participation rate will be required, but parent opt-outs or excusals will not be considered, while state statute says that parents may opt out. I think that's going to require some further understanding and perhaps some consideration as we go forward on what that really means.
Thanks for pointing that out, Ken. That can have some big impacts on our school, especially straight schools, because we have prided ourselves on having that 95% between the students testing and with parent opt-outs. And if we don't have parent opt-outs anymore, and that's not included in the participation score, you know it's hard to get online students to a place to test. So of all of the information we've read through, that's probably the one that I'm most concerned about.
Jennifer has something.
Yeah, Jennifer?
Yeah, Jen, you have one thing to add?
I do. I think just a point of clarification, it's my understanding that the 90% that is required and doesn't include opt-outs will not impact. So in the past, if you did not meet the participation rate, they would drop you a plan type. And that was one of the big deals about participation rate. It's my understanding that your plan type will not be impacted, but that the district and/or school would not be eligible for requesting a reconsideration of the plan type they were assigned. So that is still going to have a negative impact on our schools because we have often asked for a request to reconsider plan type based on local data that we have internally, but it won't automatically drop a plan type the way that participation rate has in the past. There's just a small distinction to help clarify that.
Thank you, Jim.
So it's not quite as high stakes of an impact as it was in the past, but still takes an option away.
And it's a higher impact than it was in the past.
Yes, it does. I think we've done a request to reconsider
Almost
every
every
year for the last 4 years.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, does anybody have any further questions or comments for Kendra and Suzanne? Okay, thank you guys. Let us know as they continue to develop that, please. And our last item for discussion is legal update, and Josh is here from Miller Farmer to update us.
I'll come around here so everyone can see me. Hey, everybody. My update will be very brief. When this item was added to the agenda, we thought we would be prepared to present a full legal update on some MOUs we're working on with a couple districts, but those discussions are ongoing, and because of that, have nothing to present right now, but we will, next month's meeting, have a legal update on that for you.
Great.
So
Any concerns, Josh, about moving forward with those MOUs or anything you can share in this setting?
nothing to share about that, no concerns right now. Yep, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think logistically, there's just some things of how each organization's board meetings line up. So, timing. Yep, it's the timing of everybody's meetings. All right, so we have covered all of our discussion items. We're on to board reports, which are there for information unless anyone has questions. Does anyone have questions on the board reports? Okay, seeing none, then we are ready for a motion to adjourn. May I have a motion, please?
I move to adjourn.
In a second. It's been moved and seconded. We are adjourned at 5:50. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
You all, great meeting.
Thank you.